right, well, with Bernie Sanders slipping further behind Hillary Clinton in the delegate count, there are growing questions over whether the Vermont senator is blowing it by refusing to attack Clinton over her scandals, including the FBI email probe and Benghazi, and whether taking the high road could have cost Sanders victories in Iowa and Nevada, and ultimately, perhaps, the nomination. Washington Post columnist Mark Thiessen, a speechwriter for President George W. Bush, writes, quote, Sanders has said he will not politicize the investigations. That is a mistake. If a majority of Democrats believe that Clinton is dishonest but electable, she will win. But if they can be convinced she is both dishonest and unelectable, she is toast. All right, David, is he making a huge mistake by not going after her?
Well, I would love it if he did, but frankly, he won New Hampshire, and he didn't. His numbers didn't come down in New Hampshire, despite taking the high road, if you will. I think it's a huge issue. I think that there's enough information out right now that if anybody thinks that Hillary has not been dishonest about at least part of this email mess, they just haven't been keeping up with the news. There's so much information. Yes, it would emphasize that more if he brought it out, but he did rise in New Hampshire and elsewhere despite taking the high road. I think he's being hurt by other things, and we can get into that.
All right, but is there a chance he might change course here? If he doesn't start to gain a little bit more momentum and have a few more victories, might he decide to go after her?
I mean, it is an interesting question. I think its strongest point would be making the point that she's a liar. Scott Pelley did a great job with that last week when she couldn't even get out there and tell the truth about telling the truth or not telling the truth. But I very much believe in branding in these campaigns, and I think that the candidates that are doing the best are the ones that stick to their knitting and stick to their image and what they are true to. Bernie Sanders has run a positive campaign, and that's worked for him. I mean, he has that jubilant commercial, you know, I kind of feel like for him, he might be making the correct choice because people who follow him feel like he's positive and they want to be a part of it. He could say, you want more of the same? You know, you like me because I'm different. I'm not the establishment. She is the establishment. That works and isn't terribly.
But you got to make sure people are informed, and Hillary Clinton has painted this out as a Republican witch hunt, and there are facts involved here that perhaps Bernie Sanders supporters should know about.
Yeah, well, many liberals aren't morally grounded enough to think that having a potential felon as their candidate's a big problem, which is why Bernie said, I'm sick and tired of hearing about the emails. So if he were to change course now, Sandra, he wouldn't be credible because he took that off the table. If I were him, and if I were Donald Trump, and if I were Ted Cruz, I would make the case that at best, she's incompetent, that she potentially caused the largest national security breach. Remember Valerie Plame and how upset liberals were over that. He could argue that tenfold with the information she released. But mostly, Libya. Now we see ISIS metastasizing in Libya, the nation building that took place after the ousting of Gaddafi at Clinton's insistence. If I were Sanders, if I were Cruz, and if I were Trump, I would be banging the drum on the fact that ISIS metastasized under her watch, and that's where you tie the email.
And to all those campaigns, if you need some help, call Andrea. Do you think that there is a missed opportunity here?
A couple of things, though, with that. The Republicans need to then not focus on each other if they're going to do that. And we've yet to see that happen, right? Yeah. Good luck with that.
Well, they could focus on Rubio.
So to answer your question, missed opportunity. You know, I have been in the camp that I wasn't always so sure at the beginning that Bernie Sanders wanted to be president. I think what Bernie Sanders has wanted is exactly what Sanders has gotten. He's gotten a movement, and he's really good at that. He's really good at making people feel like they matter in the room, even though his policies may cost, I don't know, what was it last? 50,000, 50 trillion, whatever, dollars. Yeah. He makes people feel like they matter.
And he's moved Hillary to the left as well, which he likes.
That's true, but he's run this positive campaign. He is still reigning supreme among all the candidates, both sides of the political aisle, as the most trusted.
Well, he hasn't proven that he's really good at beating Hillary Clinton.
And again, that may not be his goal, but his goal, as I understood it in the beginning, was to start people to feel something, to start people to want to make change, and he's been effective
to move
at that.
America towards socialism. Let's face it.
Well,
that's his goal.
He wanted us to feel a burn, specifically. A burn, a sizzle.
I don't know if they're feeling that.